Today we're going to have a look at supplements, some key things that you really need to understand about supplements, and also we'll take a kind of specific deep dive into multivitamins. So before we get stuck into this video, there are some really key concepts that you seriously need to understand. And the most obvious one is quite literally in the name, supplement. Supplements will never replace food or a good balanced diet for that matter. It is quite literally in the name, supplement, okay? Supplements are there as an addition. They merely exist to supplement your current diet or your lifestyle to kind of suit for your goals or needs. So that being said, please do not seek out a supplement as your first port of call, your priority number one, when it comes to achieving a certain goal or a certain outcome. It's very rare that a supplement will be the first thing you should need. There are oftentimes hundreds of things, and I genuinely do mean hundreds of things, that you need to nail before you dive into supplementation. For example, if you wanted to gain muscle, do not expect protein shakes or creatine or EAAs to be the kind of key player in that transformation. They are all very useful components and very useful tools to use to further facilitate your journey towards muscle gain, but protein, creatine, etc. are never going to come close to a very good training program, progressive overload, adequate nutrition, good recovery, etc. In the same way, if you want to lose weight or lose fat, obviously a weight loss supplement is not going to be the key player there. There are hundreds of more important variables that you need to dial in, that you need to address, that are going to have a much bigger effect on your overall goal. So it's really important not to lose sight of what's actually important. The same goes for gut health or sleep or even cognition. I mean, as you might be aware, nootropics are getting increasingly more popular, so maybe we'll touch on them in this video as well. So you need to understand before we move into this video that supplements are the icing on the cake, okay? They really are that last kind of touch, that little bit of seasoning that you would add to a dish to make it that little bit better, okay? They are not the thing you start with, okay? You can't make a steak without a steak, but you need salt to make the steak really good. You get the idea. So there is so much, the fundamentals, that you need to have dialed in consistently before you even consider supplementation. Further from that, you need to have a very good idea of your own unique needs, your goals, and your diet. But I get so many people that message me saying, okay, which supplements should I take? Just blanket term, which supplements should I take? I'm like, what? Or they'll give me a list of all the supplements they take and they'll be like, I take omega-3s and iron and magnesium. What else should I take? Or how much should I take of these things? Is this dose correct or whatever? And I'm just like, sorry? Because the answer is always, it depends. You cannot just simply say as a blanket term, okay, everybody should take X amount of this, at this times of day, blah. Doesn't work like that. So sorry, I wish it was easier, I wish it was simpler, but it's not. It's insane how many questions I get like that. It's just mad. People say, how much iron should I take per day? It's like, are you iron deficient? Have you had blood work done recently that says that? Do you regularly not get enough iron in your diet? Are you vegan? Are you vegetarian? What are the details exactly? You know, the details are so important. My point being, the thought process that people have when it comes to supplements is just wrong. I think people view supplements as a blanket treatment, almost like a painkiller or something. It's like, oh, everyone uses them, so why not? I would advise viewing supplements more along the lines of a prescription to solve a specific issue, which is in of itself a bit of a wobbly way of comparing them, so don't go off of that literally. So effectively, supplements are a lot more complicated than they're made out to be, and supplements will not necessarily solve a specific issue that they're marketed to do. And honestly, we've barely scratched the surface there, but the whole point of this video is for it to be a beginner's guide, so let's keep it simple for your sake and mine. So we have this kind of a hierarchical supplement triangle, if you will. The foundation is no supplements whatsoever. The next level is like patching up gaps in your nutrition, supplements that you might actually need that might be very useful for you as an individual. Then you have the top, which is like enhancements, the realms of like adaptogens or mushrooms or nootropics or whatever. The stuff which is a little bit more magical, the research is a lot more sparse, let's say. There's far less research in that kind of area. You have things like ashwagandha, lion's mane, cordyceps, all that kind of stuff that I would consider to be the least of your concerns. Like that really is the icing of the icing on the cake. So before we move forward, understand this. Does everyone need to supplement the same things? No. Does everyone need to supplement? No. Should some people supplement certain things? Maybe. You get the idea. Supplements are by no means a necessity. If you have a certain goal that you think a supplement will directly benefit with, then maybe you consider it. And in terms of priority order, there are a billion things that you need to nail and that you need to consider before you even consider a supplement. And further from that, marketing around supplements is absolutely appalling. I want you to understand that you need to tread very, very carefully when it comes to buying a supplement. Supplement companies will release a supplement when one little study is released on a rat saying that when they took magnesium, for example, they got sleepy. I'm just pulling that out of my head. But supplement companies will leap on that, okay? They use one little study on a rat or one little study in vitro, okay? So in a test tube, for example, and they will flood the market with that supplement. And as they do it, other supplement companies get on it as well. And before you know it, we all believe lion's mane to be this magical mushroom powder that you can use to enhance focus and cognition, when in reality, there isn't a single study to support that in humans. At least, not that I'm aware of, I could be wrong. But last time I checked, there's quite literally no good quality human trials on lion's mane. So you get the idea. Ideas around certain supplements can get blown out of proportion before anyone even evaluates good research. I think that's a big enough intro, so let's get into the juice. So, multivitamins, probably one of the most common supplements. Does everyone need to take a multivitamin? Absolutely not. In my eyes, multivitamins serve kind of one main purpose, and that is to act as an insurance policy that you are getting enough of the vitamins and minerals in said multivitamin, okay? Taking a daily multivitamin should, in theory, guarantee that the vitamins and minerals in that multivitamin get into your body every single day or however often you take it. Sadly, it likely doesn't work like that. There are so many other considerations to be made. The quality of the supplement, the quality of the vitamins and minerals in the supplement will dictate the bioavailability of those vitamins and minerals, and this varies massively dependent on the overall quality. A big issue with multivitamins that I don't see anywhere near enough people talk about is that some vitamins and minerals actually inhibit the absorption of one another, i.e. they compete for absorption and reduce the overall absorption of certain vitamins and minerals. In the same way, some vitamins and minerals do actually assist the absorption of one another, like iron and vitamin C, for example, but many vitamins and minerals actually compete, things like copper and zinc, for example, or vitamin C and B12. So chucking them all in this one tablet might not be the most effective way of doing things, okay? If there's going to be all this competition going on, how much of these things are you actually getting in? How much of these vitamins is your body actually going to use? Etc, etc. I just feel like there's such a huge error margin. And further from that, you then consider water-soluble and fat-soluble vitamins. So fat-soluble vitamins like A, D, E, and K need to be consumed with fat in order to actually be absorbed. So if you're taking a multivitamin in the morning and on an empty stomach, then your absorption of fat-soluble vitamins will be significantly lower than it would be if you took the multivitamin with food. And you don't tend to see that on a multivitamin capsule saying take with food, for example, because they frankly don't give a shit, right? Let's be honest. So maybe taking a bunch of questionable quality vitamins and minerals all at the same time isn't the most accurate or effective way of taking your vitamins and minerals. Not to say, again, I want to reiterate, yes, using them as a somewhat reliable kind of insurance policy might be an okay idea. Some people just routinely take multivitamins and that's totally fine, okay? Totally cool. But at the very least, doing it this way, you're probably not really getting the best bang for your buck, let's be honest. If there are tons of vitamins and minerals in that supplement that are going to compete and things that you might then consume in excess, for example, like certain water-soluble vitamins, a common one here being vitamin C, which tends to be packed in very high doses in multivitamin supplements, then what's the point, right? If you're just going to be losing it to the toilet, because effectively you do just piss out excess water-soluble vitamins. But I think the biggest question of all when it comes to multivitamins is, do you actually need the damn thing? Do you need to be taking a massive excess of water-soluble and fat-soluble vitamins and minerals on top of an already okay diet? And the answer, again, surprise, surprise, is it depends. In my eyes, if you already eat a good quality balanced diet and you track your diet with somewhat accuracy through an app that shows you a rough idea of your vitamin and mineral intake, and you can see that the vast majority of your vitamins and minerals are accounted for somewhat consistently, then no, you don't need a multivitamin. Of course you don't. You can see that through your numbers. Your need for a multivitamin should be quite minimal if you eat a balanced and varied diet. Maybe there'll be the odd vitamin or mineral that you sometimes miss up on or slip up on, or something that consistently flags on, say, a weekly basis, let's say B12 or iron, for example, and that's fine. That is where you see that window and you say, okay, there's a clear gap in my diet. How do I patch that up? And if you can't do it through diet, you can't do it naturally through food, then maybe taking a supplement is a good idea. In the same way, if something flags on a blood test showing that you are literally deficient in a vitamin or mineral, then yes, of course, supplementation could be a very, very good idea. So it's all very case dependent. And also consider this, you don't necessarily need to hit the exact recommended daily intake for every vitamin and mineral every day of the week. If your weekly average is good in terms of all the vitamins and minerals, I really wouldn't be stressing. For example, if like 5 days of the week you hit like 100% zinc intake and other days you're a little bit lower, I really wouldn't stress. I don't think that's really a reason to start taking a zinc supplement. But if that flagged more consistently and you had a low weekly average intake of zinc, then maybe a zinc supplement might be useful, although I would still recommend trying to fix that through diet first. And another massive consideration with multivitamin supplements is that companies overdose these things like mad. Take a new client of mine, okay? Very recently, we did a diet analysis. I do that with all of my new clients to get an idea of how their diet stands before they start with me, okay? And I saw on his diet analysis that for many vitamins and minerals, he was hitting like 500%, in some cases like 1000% of his daily recommended intake for those vitamins and minerals. So I was like, right. Looked a little deeper, saw that the main reason for that was that he was taking 4 of his multivitamin capsules per day from a certain very famous, renowned health foods type company. I won't name drop them. And believe it or not, they say a serving size is in fact 4 capsules. But why on earth would they do that? Well, I can guess why. If you took 4 capsules rather than just the 1, i.e. what you need, then you use more of the product and they end up selling you more of that product. So it makes total sense, right? Point being, if you're getting 5 to 10 times what your daily recommended intake is of certain vitamins and minerals, then at the very least, you're wasting your money, right? Especially if they're water-soluble vitamins, because the excess you'll just lose to the toilet. But actually pushing those numbers so far, particularly things like magnesium or iron or potassium, for example, or copper or selenium, if you're pushing minerals like that to such a high degree, you do actually run the risk of some potential safety concerns, okay? And there are links there, or links some studies, where very high intake of these metals and minerals, and even some fat-soluble vitamins, have been linked with negative health outcomes. Obviously, it's hard to tell because it depends how much of these vitamins and minerals you actually absorb. It depends on the bioavailability, depends on what you lose to waste, for example. It's a very hard one to kind of pinpoint for sure, but at the very, very least, you are likely wasting your money on that multivitamin, or at the very least, you're getting diminished returns by taking that many. So like the bottom line is you're wasting your money. You could probably put your money elsewhere, right? And at the kind of top, and you might also be running potential risks to your health by taking such a high dose of certain vitamins and minerals. So in order to supplement with vitamins and minerals in the right way, the most safe way, the most effective way, and cost-effective way, is to understand your unique needs and your goals. This is exactly why I regularly analyze my clients' diets to get a very good idea of where their diet stands before starting with me, i.e., do they get a good balanced nutrient intake? Are they ticking those boxes of vitamins and minerals? And I can then make direct recommendations, usually through diet to start off with, to patch up those gaps in their nutrition, okay? Let's say they're vegan and they're low on B12. Of course, there are tons of things we can put in place to address that. The same goes for vitamin D, iron, magnesium, whatever, right? We can always find solutions to those gaps. Now, if, for example, they can't eat those foods, like let's say, for example, it's iron and they don't like red meat, or they don't have red meat, and it's incredibly hard for them to address their iron just through food. In that case, I might then recommend a supplement, and a good supplement at that, right? You want to make sure it's good bioavailable iron, not crappy sort of industrial grade iron filings. So again, another layer of consideration that we won't get into today. So in doing it this way, the client, the individual, can eat all the foods they like eating, they can tick all of these nutritional boxes, make sure they get enough vitamins and minerals on a daily basis or a weekly basis, and enjoy the process as a result, right? And not waste time and money on multivitamins and other vitamins and minerals and supplements that they frankly just don't need or just won't even use. And if you want to learn more about how that works and how the other elements of my coaching works, just drop me a message over Instagram. And if you want to book in for a free discovery session, just go through my booking link on my Instagram, and I'll put it in my YouTube description as well. Why not? So I think that acts as a really nice kind of introduction to supplements, understanding the fundamentals with supplementation, the absolute basics. You need to understand that they are not a fix, they are not a replacement, they will not replace foods, they will not replace good lifestyle changes. They are there to catalyze, to facilitate you achieving certain goals or to patch up certain gaps in your nutrition. So that's level 1 of supplements, I would say. You then have actually going about patching up those gaps, how to select good supplements. So which ones you should go for, what's the most bioavailable, which are good, reliable companies to potentially go for, and then understanding which ones that you should take. And then you have like the next level, the kind of tip of the iceberg, which is these kind of nootropics, adaptogens, supplements that you would use to actually enhance potentially, right? Supplements that you might use to address a further goal past that of just meeting your micronutrient intake for the day. And that's where it gets incredibly ambiguous, let's call it. Those supplements are the ones that have the least research, generally speaking. They tend to be the ones with the biggest claims made around them. So that's where you really need to learn to tread carefully. So yeah, level 1 of supplements with a focus on multivitamins. I hope that helped. If you do have any further questions, feel free to comment or drop me a message. And in the same way, if you do want to understand how my coaching works, if the element of diet analysis that I discussed interests you, I'll put all the links in the description to get in contact with me. I'll be more than happy to sit down and have a chat. And yeah, in the meantime, stay tuned for next week's video.